All right. Okay, we're live. What's up, guys? Alf here, and I'm with my buddy Jay, the War Kettle.
Hey, what's up, you dirty Mexican?
So, this was out of the blue. I had a very funny exchange on Twitter today. So, oh god, I hate that I do this because I hear myself talking like 2 minutes before because I'm like, God, I do that every time. I never learn. But yeah, I wanted to go through it and laugh at it with you, or get
Yeah,
your
no
opinions
worries.
on this.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Sounds good.
Oh, fucking Marino. I go on my Twitter right now and I posted that we were going live. And
Mm.
I said going live at the War Kettle in a few minutes, join us. And Marino responds, no. What a dick. Leave it to the Italian to be a dick.
What a dick, mate.
Let me cue this up. But yeah, man, I've been arguing with these vegans. Well, let me preface this. And basically, yesterday, Devin made a post about something about morality or whatever. It doesn't really matter what the post was, but suddenly Ask Yourself pops up, right? Of course. And wants to ask him, whether he's really moral because he eats animals, and he wants debate me or vegan gains on it, and obviously
Yeah,
Devin isn't much for debate, so he doesn't.
yeah, exactly.
Now, on top of that, he doesn't know anybody debate. He doesn't know Ask Yourself. Why is he going to debate somebody? You know what I'm saying? He has
Yeah,
no reason
exactly.
to. But of course, these people have like this mindset that you have to debate or something. Like if you don't debate them on veganism, then they're automatically like, oh, you're weak, this and that. Oh, it's because you can't defend your position, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, it's not really a position, right? Like to me, a position or a stance is something that you fight for, right? Like in general, like
Say
they
that,
have
hey, say
like
that again.
like a position or a stance is like something you stand for, basically, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I can understand it from their side because you're a vegan, so you stand
Mm.
for not eating animals, you stand for no animal cruelty and stuff like that. But eating meat isn't for at least the vast majority of people is not a stance. It's not something you fight for. It's not something you stand up for. You don't go around saying, "Oh, you have to eat meat," and try to argue with people about why they have to eat meat. That's kind of ridiculous.
Hmm.
So to tell somebody that they have to defend their position about eating meat it's ridiculous. It's nonsensical. But they get all gung-ho about this shit. So like an idiot, I engage these people, right? Probably shouldn't, but I do. And not really to debate, just to engage them and tell them, like, God, you guys are fucking nuts with this debate shit. It's like all you ever think about. It's
Yep.
like, life is short, man. We got more things to do than fucking constantly debate each other. And hold on, it's pretty long, so I gotta find the beginning of this. There's this one guy. He was here when I did the vegan games live stream, and he was in the chat. I remember his name. I'm not gonna mention who it is because it doesn't really matter. But yeah,
Just some jackass off the internet.
but to go back to Ask Yourself again, his MO, man, this exact tactic that he does every time. Devin obviously does not want to debate and is making jokes about it. What
Yeah.
he's saying are obvious jokes.
Yeah.
But of course, they call him out, and they call him out on, oh, you're being morally weak or whatever, or oh, you're weak because you won't debate us, and those jokes aren't arguments. And it's like, yeah, obviously they're not arguments because they're like, oh, I gotta call people out for non-arguments. It's obviously a non-argument. They're joking. They're not even trying to argue. So all right, so it starts off with this, right?
Hit me.
One guy, it's not the same guy, but another guy
Yeah.
says, I'd love to see this debate. Come on, AIU, that was a shit argument, and I'm like, what argument? He made a joke. Are jokes arguments to you? And he says, get off his dick. Would you like to debate the ideological principles of veganism? And I said, no, why would I? I don't even like to debate. It's boring. Is debating how you live your life? What a sad existence.
Yeah.
And now this is the guy I argue with the rest of the time responds, and he says, dismissive appeal to ridicule. Like, what? And it's like, defending positions are boring. Debating is sad. Losers need to get out more. Which, is actually true. He was saying that sarcastically, but that is true. All of that is absolutely true. I said,
exactly.
correct. I said,
Especially
correct.
with that lot.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, yeah, correct. Stop trying to make people do things you like to do if they aren't into it. And he said, not a consistent art position. I was like, not a position at all. Are you okay? Do you understand? Like, do you understand simple concepts? And he's like, a position, a person's point of view or attitude towards something. Do you retract your previous statement? I said, no, eating meat is not his point of view or his attitude towards something. Retract yours. And he's like, straw man, you stated your position. Whatever. Stop trying to make people do things you like to do if they aren't into it. See, this is where he got confused because he thinks I'm talking about when I said to stop trying to make people do things they don't like to do. And my dog is howling. He's
yeah, don't worry, Annie. It's not the Muslims. They're not coming to invade.
They aren't coming to invade you, Annie. It's just my dog. But I think he got confused here, and he started thinking that I was talking about veganism. Like I was trying to say that to stop making people be vegan, that they're not into it. But what I was talking about at that point was debating. Like, stop trying to make people debate if they're not into debating. You know, like that's ridiculous. That's like trying to pushing someone around and trying to get them to fight you when they don't want to fight you. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I said it's not a position; it's a demand. I'm demanding you stop trying to make people debate. Right. So this is where the whole confusion lies, because this whole time he's talking about veganism, I'm talking about debate.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, stop trying to make people do the things you like to do if they aren't into it. Is your point of view attitude towards vegans who challenge your cruel behavior? I said, no, it's not. It's a demand. I have no problem talking about veganism. And I do with vegans I am friends with, but you guys have a shitty attitude. One of your buddies I just tried talking to said I was lying. That messes it all up for you guys. Oh, yeah. So I got into the argument with the dude earlier. Okay. And again, this is the same argument I've had with even our vegan friends. At the beginning when they first came in, and we had problems with them because they wouldn't back off, you know, and we were like, no, stop. But now we're cool with them. But yeah, it was the same thing about how I think if aliens came and wanted to eat us, that's their right. They're superior to us, right? Like, what are we gonna do? On top of that, we have no choice. And if we did have a choice,
resist, Alfie. We're not just gonna bend over and get eaten.
But I'm saying if we could resist and win, then we're superior to them. You know what I'm saying? I even say the same thing for an animal species. If an animal species becomes powerful or smart enough to resist us and fight us back, then they deserve the right to not be eaten. You know what I'm saying? We can't beat them. We're not superior to them anymore. And the same goes for an alien species that comes. We can try to resist, but there's nothing we can do about it if they're superior to us. And the other thing is, I don't mind eating humans, and that's the other argument people fucking have a problem with. So whenever I bring this up, people think I'm lying. They think I'm doing that just to stay consistent, like I'm making shit up to stay consistent. It's not really true, but it is true. That's how I feel about things. But you know, that stumps their argument, and then they have to divert the argument to say I'm ridiculous or I'm being absurd or I'm lying. Yeah. You know, happens every time. Damn it, I just lost it. But yeah, but that's the one I'm talking about. That guy all of a sudden wouldn't argue with me anymore, was saying that I was lying in order to stay consistent because I'm not. And I'm like, that's not true. So that's why I brought that up. And that's what does ruin it a lot for vegans, because they want to debate people, but when people debate them, they don't want to accept the person's answers. So where am I? He says a demand can be a position, blah blah blah. That's useless. Let's see, what if it's not a position because I don't care. I am trying to help you see that your tactic is useless. Debate is boring, and this is a useless endeavor. He says, not a rebuttal either. What you're saying is a retraction. This is stupid. He's trying to get me to retract whether it's a position or not. Who cares? I said, no, or you have yourself a delusion. Yeah, he's trying to say I'm delusional or something. I was like, no, you have a delusion. I gave you the response, but you seem to not want to accept it. Seems like I found your cognitive dissonance. He says, however, if you can't get over semantics, stop trying to make people do things you like to do if they aren't into it. Is not a consistent demand, opinion, whatever you think it is. I said, why isn't it? He says, probably because you probably wouldn't accept that demand coming from a serial child rapist when you challenge them on their serial child raping, or from a person who's going to nuke your city, or from someone who is torturing you and your family. First off, all these things are not things you are going to debate. You're not going to debate with a serial child rapist. That's retarded. No matter, they're just going to yes you until you go away and then go back to raping children. Like, that's retarded if you think you could debate one. And then a person who's going to nuke your city. You're going to debate someone who's going to nuke your city like that. That's not going to work. That's just dumb. Or someone who's torturing you and your family. Like, that's just dumb too. If somebody's torturing you and your family, stab them in the neck or something. That's psychotic. Then I said, I think you're confused. What do you think we're talking about? Because, you know, that's the point where he thinks we're talking about veganism or we're talking about debate. You know what I'm saying? That's where he's lost. And he says, it doesn't matter what we're talking about. It's not a consistent sentiment throughout context. Dismissing the challenge of your behavior on the grounds of, I'm not into that. Stop forcing your beliefs on me. Allows absurdity. And then I said, what? Are you saying people have to debate? That's ridiculous. No, thanks. I don't have to debate anyone on any topic ever. Don't agree? Make me. But you can't. I don't debate anything. That debates are boring to me. You guys are out of your minds if you think people have to debate. They says, I'm not going to stop serial child raping. Are you saying people have to debate? That's ridiculous. No, thanks. You know, basically repeats what I says, but with child raping in it. I said, okay, perfect. I would never debate a serial child rapist. So we're totally good here. Bye, serial child rapist. He says, would you never challenge a serial child rapist on their behavior? Would you totally accept it? And I said, no, I would call the police or I wouldn't even go near that person. And he said, if there were no police or if it were legal, would you accept this person's serial child raping? I said, you don't have to. No, he says, you don't have to confront them. Do you accept it? Do you think it should happen? I said, these questions are retarded. I would not debate them. I would get the child out of danger. Are you mentally handicapped? Like, what? This is insane. Like, who thinks they can debate a child rapist on child raping? It's just extremely ridiculous to me. It doesn't make any sense. I think it's kind of psychotic if you don't understand that child rapists know that they're doing something wrong and you can't talk them out of it. You know what I'm saying? It's like a wife beater, right? They beat their wife. An hour later, they're apologizing for it. You know they're apologizing. The wife accepts it, right? But she knows he's gonna do it again. You know what I'm saying? Either whether he's sorry or not, he's gonna do it again. He can't control himself. It's a psychotic behavior, you know. And he says, and if you don't know who the child is or who the next child are, why aren't you already getting child rape victims out of danger? Superman, the children need you. I was like, yeah, then I'd go beat his ass or maybe murder him and bury him in my basement. One thing I certainly wouldn't do is try to reason with him. That's retarded. Yeah, this came from something else. Oh, he must have deleted it or I must have responded to the wrong thing. But I think there was a part where he said, after I said that I would murder him, he was like, so you do agree with that? So then I can come murder you or whatever. And I said, yeah, yeah, I'm all for that. Come murder me. I live in Union City, New Jersey. You know, and I was like, I can meet you at the Taco Bell at my corner. Let me know if you want me to split the travel costs. He said, I'll head down. He said, I'll head down this summer, but before I do, I want to make sure that you are of the worldview that instead of challenging people on their cruel behavior when it happens to be legal and there aren't police, we should kill those people as a means to deal with the problem. I said, if that's what you are about, sure. If you find child rape to be equivalent to animal slaughter, then yes. I don't. And I find people murdering to be worse than animal slaughter. And I might have to kill you to stop you from doing it again. You know, right? Like that does that seem logical to you, right? That makes sense, right?
These guys are straight up.
Oh my God, what the hell? What the hell? Oh my God, it's time for the Jaymee Show.
Jaymee Show is here.
What's up, baby? Party because
surprise
this fucking
visit
asshole started shit with me yesterday because I couldn't even help myself and engage.
Oh yeah,
he was such a fucking idiot. So I'm like, I remember
that's not even the same guy. That's a different guy. It started with that guy, but then it started with that same guy, but then it moved on to another guy who started responding.
Fucking ridiculous.
Oh yeah, but that guy was ridiculous.
They just want to fight. Like they are not on team people. And if you're not on team people first, fuck you.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry to derail.
I agree.
Nah, it's all good. I'm glad you joined in. I'm happy you're here.
I remember this thread. I have to get in on this.
Yeah.
They're so fucking annoying, these people.
All right, so where was I? Oh yeah, so I said I have to kill you, stop you from doing it again. It says, okay, so what's your non-psycho solution to stopping people from needlessly being cruel to conscious creatures such as animals when challenging the cruel is psycho? It's like challenging the cruel isn't psycho. What's psychotic is challenging people who know they are doing the wrong behavior and thinking that that's going to make a difference. You know what I'm saying? But that equated to him talking about child rapists, not animal murderers, because if he finds them equivalent, I don't. So that's not as psychotic to me, but still. He says, so I said, well, since I don't have a position, I don't have a solution, but there is a solution already in the works. It's in vitro meat. Do you Patreon? Ask yourself, a better use of your money for your position is to donate to that cause. And so he says, and if the in vitro meat is too expensive or too far away for being affordable and doesn't stop people from needlessly being cruel to animals, what's not, I don't know. He continues with that. You know, I'm saying, yeah, well, it's held back by funding, so donate, but he keeps asking for a solution. So I said, don't know. Like I said, I don't hold a position on that matter. So I don't spend my time thinking of a solution. What's your solution? Are you actively pursuing your solution? How well is it working? Like, he doesn't really tend to answer that, but he says, I like a person who is all judgment with no substance. I'm not sure what he means by that. I think he's being sarcastic. My solution is via discourse and ethics. Purely pragmatic solutions aren't going to change people's outlooks, but I suppose that is too psychopathic for a compassionate person like yourself. So I said, I would also like to state that if your view, oh wait, I had 2 responses to this, so that's why I'm skipping some. Okay. I don't know where the other response is, but I said something about I never said I was compassionate. That doesn't make sense to me. Why you bring that up? But I would also like to state that if you view eating meat as equivalent to child rape, do you solve them the same? Do you try to have discourse with people eating meat in front of you? If so, would you try to have discourse with someone raping a child in front of you? Like those aren't equivalent. Like how does he think? But yeah, he eventually admits they're not. He says the raping is still in progress, so it can still be stopped. If a rapist couldn't be reasoned with, then I would have to decide on an alternative solution. I would always start and focus on discourse, as that is the most civilized and my strength. Violence would be outside my realm. So basically, he's not a tough guy. And that's not a big surprise. Well, I told him, well, I like your answer, because that's not a bad answer. So I like your answer, but you should know you can't reason with a child rapist. They know they are doing something wrong. They would agree with you to shut you up and then do it again when you aren't around. And secondly, you see why I found your analogy a while back to be psychotic? You don't view them as equivalent, but you used it as an analogy as if they were. He said it was an example. And I said, I hope you see now that it was a bad one. He says, nope. Like, how do you not see that was a bad example? Oh, this is where I said, well, I never stated I was a compassionate person. Is this discourse working for you? How many people have you convinced to go vegan? How many animals have you saved with this solution? He says, who knows? I'm not a stalker. Whether the seeds I planted resulted in veganism in anyone I'm not friends with will remain a mystery. Well, I said, well, that seems useless, like conducting an experiment without viewing results, right? Like, if you don't know if it's working, why do you continue it? You should find out if it's working so that you can make adjustments and make better arguments, right? And he says, welcome to the real world. That's social discourse for you. There are no absolutes. I said, no one is saying it has to be absolute, but if you repeat a tactic without knowing if it ever works, then you can't make adjustments to improve the cause you are striving for. Just saying. And he says, if people aren't dogmatic or unreasonable like yourself or a complete idiot, logical arguments will plant seeds or convince. It's as simple as that. I said, I am very reasonable and not dogmatic. You do realize you are the one being dogmatic here. I have heard nothing reasonable from you. You even think people have to debate each other whether they want to or not. That is dogmatic. That's pretty much where it ended.
Wow.
That's amazing that they called you dogmatic.
Yeah, but they're saying that Devin has to debate, right? Like, what?
No one has to debate.
Nobody has to. Yeah, nobody owes anyone anything. It's strange that these people think that people owe them their time and their.
But they think that if you don't give them your time, that they automatically win and are better.
Yeah, that's exactly what they think. Yeah. And they start calling you weak. Oh, you can't defend your position. Meanwhile, as I was saying earlier, it's not a fucking position. You know what I'm saying? Devin's not going out there telling people they should eat meat. You know, he's not standing up and being an activist for meat. Like, that's ridiculous. Nobody does that. Or if people do, it's a very small amount of people.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anybody hold a sign up anywhere.
Yeah.
Saying that you should eat meat, because meat eaters, we just do what comes to us. It's natural. Just is what it is.
Yeah, it's not a position.
I've seen plenty of anti-meat people all over the place. I was in the city centre the other day, actually, and there was these group of people stood in a circle, all holding like iPads and laptops with this video playing on loop, and they all had masks on and they didn't say a word. They were just playing this video. It was quite weird.
Yeah.
If I remember right, it was just random slaughter videos of animals.
Oh my God. There was someone who was doing that the last time I went to see Sam Harris. There was one guy outside with a TV with a vegan sign who was like, even Sam Harris says that it's better morally to not eat meat. And I'm like, oh my God, you're standing in front of a fucking venue where people are lined up and probably already know his position. Like, what a fucking freak.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the people who are like, fuck capitalism. Capitalism is bullshit. And it's like, oh, you tweet that on your iPhone? That's cute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Oh, but we were talking about this last night because this started last night, and I was talking to Amy, and I was saying it's very equatable to SJWs, where it's like what they see as being the most important thing has to be the most important thing for everybody.
Yeah.
You know? And it's strange, and it doesn't work that way. Like, these people think that it works the way the tactic they're using, and it's like, no, like, wouldn't it be better to just be cool with people and then, you know, just talk about it from time to time, not have to debate it and have discourse. And
people don't like vegans because they're fucking assholes. It's like, you're already coming from the position where you think you are morally superior. What's the point of discussing?
Yeah.
Because if you eat meat, you automatically disagree with their position. Therefore, you are not as morally superior as them. Therefore, they win. So what is the point even?
It's true. And we have interactions with vegans well, I can't say they aren't like that, because we did have our troubles with Tristan and Israel when they first started hanging out with us in the Discord, but that blew over, and then we became friends, right? And we talked to discuss things. Kelly wasn't really like that. Kelly was just kind of cool from the beginning. She just
Kelly was never like that, though.
But you see how, as a vegan, you can be friends with people who aren't vegans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And in fact, you're probably doing better service that way, because maybe there are one or two people that you're friends with that you can convince, you know, in a nice
talk
way.
to in a friendly way. Like,
and
I'm
maybe
not
get them
unwilling.
to see your view. Yeah, exactly.
I'm not unwilling to hear about it. I know that it's to some degree better not to eat animals, but like, I justify my position as like, I like meat. Sorry, like, that's not gonna change.
Oh yeah, they dislike that.
I like eating chicken. I'm gonna eat it. Guess what? Factory farming and hunting is not gonna stop just because you want it to. And you know what? The funniest thing about these vegans is they probably fucking drive. Asshole, you're contributing more to the carbon footprint than I am. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Oh, not only that, but they are risking killing animals every time they drive.
There you go.
And they don't worry about that. They see that as a necessary evil, which it really isn't, because there's so many things you can easily...
eating meat is more of a necessary evil, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I think so too. But like, in driving, you can... That's easy. That's actually a very basic thing you could do to lower the deaths of animals. You can carpool. You can actively be a carpooler and tell people, "Hey, I'll drive you to work." You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So there's one less car on the road that might run an animal over.
Yep.
But
that's a different argument. Apparently, you can't say that.
Yeah, that doesn't work. But I also take the stance of superiority. We are the top of the food chain. We are the superior ones.
But that is how it works. There are hierarchies in nature.
Yeah, I agree. And if another animal species reaches our level and fights back and can defend themselves against us evenly, then we are no longer their superiors, and they've earned the right to not be eaten.
Exactly.
And if they become more superior to us, then they gain the right to eat us. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And we're just gonna have to try to defend ourselves until we win.
They would. If there was a species that was higher than us and wanted to eat us for breakfast, guess what? It fucking would. It would be programmed to. So one of the responses I said to one of those guys was like, "Is it abuse when a cheetah eats a gazelle?" Like, go read some Dawkins. And he comes back at me with, is it rape when a cheetah rapes a cheetah? And I'm like,
Did you see?
What?
Did you see? Did you see my response to that? I was like, listen and believe, cheetah, cheetah gender equality now.
Exactly. Stupid. Like, what kind of fucking response is that to that? You obviously do not understand
ridiculous.
how things work.
Yeah.
Like, it's really fucking dumb.
It's a bit of an extremity. Like they go to extremes.
It just
like I said,
make sense at all. They want to flat out deny nature, and that's a problem that we have in general. Is just the denial of nature, the denial of human nature when it comes to behavior, and the denial of nature in general when it comes to like, hey, motherfucker, animals eat other animals. How do you think they survive? Not all animals do, but even bugs eat other bugs and shit.
Yeah, bugs eat other animals. Bugs eat like carcasses and stuff.
Yeah, what the fuck?
But like while I was talking about going to extremes, like how that guy went to the extreme of equating child rape to it. And then when I bring up that he's making those equatable, he says, oh no, they're not equatable. And it's like, but then why'd you even use that as an analogy? Like, doesn't even work. Doesn't make sense. So who's gonna debate a child rapist? That's like insane to me. That blew my mind. I was like, what? You would debate a child rapist on child rape? That's ridiculous. Retarded.
Anything to defend the position of veganism.
Yeah. Go murder that dude. That's why I was trying to get him to say that they're equatable. So I'd be like, well, look, if I thought of animal eating the same as child rape, I'd probably be going out murdering people who ate meat.
Dude,
like,
how are you any
like those
more
are not
moral?
equatable.
How are you any more moral when you're ready to murder human beings and not animals? Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, straight up, fuck you.
But meanwhile, this guy's not violent, so he wouldn't murder anybody. But you know, it's just.
Okay.
But he does push things to the extreme, and that's what happens every time you debate with these kind of vegans. The vegans that are like this, they constantly try to take things to the extreme, and then call you absurd and that you're being ridiculous. Like,
and then they come at you with, "You're inconsistent."
Yeah, you're inconsistent. No, I'm not.
You're no. Inconsistent.
But I am consistent, and when I was being consistent, what happens? They say, oh, you're just saying that to stay consistent. You don't really believe that. Like, what? No, I do. I'm totally for eating animals, and I totally think aliens, if they're superior to us and we can't defend ourselves against them, then they totally have the right to eat us.
Yeah.
That's my belief. I'm totally consistent on that. And but I also wanted to talk about how the internet has made this really weird fucking debate culture, and it's like become like a sport with teams and shit, you know. And it's like you have to, and they all think you have to debate. If you don't debate, you're this weak person that you can't hold your stance. And it's like, no, nobody owes you a fucking debate, dude. I don't even know any of you people. Why would I care about debating any of you?
First of all, it's not even a debate. It's
not a debate. It
devolves into insults because you don't agree with them.
Yeah.
Second of all, if you actually want to have a debate, there are like actual rules to follow if you want a legitimate debate.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's the thing, is a lot of these so-called debates, they don't even have a moderator, let alone an opening statement from either party. It's ridiculous.
And
it's just a bunch of people on the internet going,
Yep, straight up.
And it's really not an issue of, they're not trying to debate you for what the purpose of a debate is, right? The purpose of a debate is to try to convince the other party of your standpoint. But they're not doing it for that. To me, it seems like they debate as like a ponage culture, right? To be like, oh, I caught you. You're not consistent.
It's moral grandstanding.
Yeah, it's like a moral grandstanding. And it's like, dude, I don't want to debate people like you. I don't give a shit. If you're legitimately trying to convince me, you wouldn't even want to debate me. You would just want to talk to me, you know?
Well, debating has to do with arguments standing up on their own merits, not on any kind of moral kind of standing, which is what they want to do. They want to be better. They're fucking better than you. You're garbage, you know.
It's fucking ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
But it's a strange culture that's brewing on the internet, and it's been going on for a while. And I think it's because a lot of people within the, I don't want to say community, right? Because that's been overdone. But within like the group of people who watch like skeptic commentator type videos, who a lot of those people who make videos are people who debate, which is fine. but it ends up that the people who watch them now, I guess they want to emulate them. So they want to be like, oh, I'm good at debating, so I want to go out and debate everyone, and blah, 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 blah. I'm not like that. Well, we're fans of Devin, right? Devin's not much of a debater. That's just not something he does. I'm not saying that he's bad at it, or he doesn't do it because he's bad at it, but Devin's more of the kind of person who, to me, seems like he's the kind of person who just wants to enjoy his life and talk about the things he wants to talk about, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like he says about his videos, I'm not making these videos for you guys. I'm making these videos for me because I enjoy doing this, and you guys come here to watch me, And that's exactly right, I don't want him to do things. I don't want him to make videos on things he doesn't want to make videos on.
Yeah, because then
Exactly.
it takes away. And Devin aside, I mean, who the fuck wants to debate, air quotes, with fucking fags on the internet?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, these people
aren't
are
even
just
worthwhile.
angry and have issues. Like, they are entirely defined by that one position they hold. There's nothing more to them. They don't have a fucking personality. Why do you think
No.
they just go after you based on this one thing over and over? If you don't stand for something, well, this is the only thing I stand for. And my entire identity and personality is wrapped up in this vegan bullshit.
Yeah.
It's pathetic. It's pathetic. Who the fuck would want to talk to anybody like that? And you know what?
No.
That's what a lot of people on the internet are like.
Yeah, and I feel these people are really socially inept, and they can't really. I can't find that they possibly have many friends in real life. Like they maybe one or two, but I can't see that these people have a large social circle. Because I just can't see that anybody would want to be around a person like that for too long.
No, so they found each other and they rah each other over their veganism and tell each other that they're so much better than everybody else, and they suck each other's dicks and have MGTOW meetings and whatever the fuck else they do.
Yeah. It's kind of like an indirect echo chamber. Like they probably don't mean to have an echo chamber, but they build that type of environment around themselves without knowing, because basically they're standoffish against anyone who doesn't agree with them.
Yep.
And just it basically makes people go away. Who wants to be around someone like that? Ugh, it's the insanity.
Yep.
Well, to change the conversation now, Leica showed me an article yesterday from The Guardian, and I thought we could go through it. So I'm going to screen share and read through it, and we can discuss it, if you guys don't mind.
Okay, what is it?
It's about Donald Trump talking about violence in video games.
Oh, violence in video games.
Yeah. But this guy takes it to a whole other place, and it's kind of funny. So, The Guardian, the title is How Video Games Are Fueling the Rise of the Far Right.
What?
Yeah. Sadly enough, the guy's name is Alfie Brown. Alfie Brown. Yeah. So, yeah, motherfucker stole my name. You're no Alfie, man. So, violent, isolationist, and misogynist desires course through games and push right-wing ideologies on players.
Oh, yeah, they totally do.
So I'm going to read this article. You're going to see how ridiculous this shit gets. So, Donald Trump's claim in the aftermath of the Florida school shooting that these events are the results of violent video games resurrects old arguments about whether young people emulate the games they play, the World Health Organization's recent decision to consider video game addiction an official illness shows comparable concern. However, these responses demonstrate anxiety about the right things for the wrong reasons. So basically saying this is how much these people hate Donald Trump. Like I dislike Donald Trump, but you know how like these really far left people call him out on things that are ridiculous, that like, he didn't even say that, right?
Arguments that he's made. They just use fucking sad stories and
video game shit.
Virtue signal over ridiculous stuff.
So basically what this is doing is this person agrees with Donald Trump, but they hate agreeing with him so much that he had to, like, it caused a cognitive dissonance, and he had to find a reason to say he's right but he's wrong. You know what I'm saying? So, that's funny. That's what I'm saying. He's like, it's right things for the wrong reasons. Yeah, sure. He's not, but in the end, he's not right at all. So, but he had to say he was right, but because of the far right,
Yeah.
So gaming cultures are connected to violence. No, it's not. Like, how many gamers do you know out there are violent? Like, most gamers are nerdy people who stay at home all day.
Studies have shown that video games actually have decreased violence.
Oh, yeah.
That's an outlet. It's an outlet for that, right?
Yeah, and in the 90s, it wasn't well, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, somebody tried, this guy, I forgot what his name is, but he tried to take it to court and have violent video games be banned. And
Yeah.
and when they looked at the numbers, they found that violent crime had been decreasing since violent video games became popular in the early 90s. And it had been decreasing till about maybe last year. I think last year was the first time it didn't decrease. Violence didn't decrease, but it had been consistently decreasing since the 90s up until last year. But all right, gaming cultures are connected to violence, but should be considered in terms of the rise of far-right political discourse and the prominence of alt-right misogyny and racism. So basically, they're like, oh, violence only causes video games only cause violence for the alt-right. I guess that's how ridiculous these people are. While Trump is firmly on the right and the WHO may embody normative centrism, there is an aspect of gaming that should worry the progressive left. The white male supremacy in gaming, which is bullshit. There is no white male supremacy in gaming. People of all races play video games. And in fact, one of the largest video game players are Asians. So that's already wrong. Has been discussed in the context of the harassment campaign Gamergate. Of course, they didn't bring in Gamergate, and which is already they got wrong from the beginning, and via the link between Trump and gamer message board threads on the 4chan website. Yet it's not simple. It's not simply that many gamers are right wing. Many gamers are right wing. I would say it's probably an equal number, right? Why would? Who says there's more right wingers playing games? That's so weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Or that the right recruits gamers. What? Oh, God. But that the logic and pleasure of gaming itself has served and continues to serve the political right. That's so fucking crazy. Oh, God. Games are ideological constructions which push a set of values on the user. Like television and film, they often support the ideologies of their context. In the Bush years, American games endorsed aggressive foreign policy. What? Since Brexit, like I don't remember playing any games that did that in the Bush years. I've been an avid gamer since the early 80s, and I don't fucking remember any of this. Since Brexit, British games advocate isolationism or nostalgia for empire.
Rule Britannia rules the waves.
Yeah, you need to make a Rule Britannia game then.
Oh, wait, I wonder if there is. I'm gonna have to look for that.
Yeah,
you know what? This article is now making me look for a Rule Britannia game.
Yeah, a game where you bring back the empire and conquer.
Yeah, I want to play that.
Sounds like Risk, man. It's been around. And the prominence of anti-Islam games in the 2000s tells it all. What
anti-Islam games?
I don't know it.
I think
they must be talking about that Milo Yiannopoulos game where you're on top of a building in some Middle Eastern country throwing gays off of buildings.
Well, they're saying in the 2000s. That was in the 2010s.
No, there's some games that were around where you're like, it's kind of like COD, but you're walking around in like a war zone and you're killing Arabs, but that's just kind of emulating real life. Like, sorry, dude, like that shit's happening in the Middle East.
No, yeah, that's exactly. like a lot of Call of Duty games.
Yeah, it's not causing it though.
Yeah,
and people think, oh, so stupid.
They take place during the Iraq War. It's accurate. It's not promoting anything. It's just an accurate representation of what's going on. However, video games have at least two unique features compared to the other media. All right, this is the part I read that I found completely fucking retarded and made me laugh so hard. So, first, right-wing ideologies have been overrepresented and dominant throughout the history of video games. Not true.
What the fuck?
What? Oh, yeah, Mario Brothers was real right-wing.
Yes.
You know how those right-wingers hate mushrooms?
Yeah, I know, right? Those Italian plumbers, mate.
Yeah, right.
It's because they were going around jumping on turtles, isn't it?
Those right-wingers always jumping on turtles.
Yeah, Italian supremacy over turtles.
Oh, good. Although affected by context, video games have long focused on the expulsion of aliens.
Dude, Farmville?
Space invaders to XCOM. So fighting alien invaders who are attacking you, that's focused on the expulsion of aliens from a right-wing perspective. Fear of impure
Wow.
infection. What? Half-life to the Last of Us. So also epidemics, like infectious epidemics, that's somehow right wing. Border control. Missile commander to Plants vs. Zombies. What? Plants vs. Zombies is border control. That's so
my
ridiculous.
God.
Oh my
And
days.
it's like, dude, that's a genre called tower defense that's been around since the 80s. It has nothing to do with politics. Like, what?
Oh my
Territory acquisition, Command and Conquer to Splatoon, empire building, Civilization to Tropico, Princess Recovery, Mario to Zelda,
What the
Princess
fuck?
Recovery. What the fuck? That's Princess Recovery is a right wing fucking ideology. What?
Isn't that's like a fucking Disney movie archetype?
Yeah, that's life
been
in
around
general. If somebody,
forever.
it doesn't even matter that it's a princess. If somebody is held captive, you want to recover them, right? That's
Yes,
like that.
yeah.
I don't think that has any political leanings. And restoration of natural harmony, Sonic to Farmville. What?
I can't believe Farmville is on that
Yeah.
fucking list
Oh, it's
as a
just as bad.
right-wing ideology.
It's just as bad as Plants vs. Zombies. Like, what's a tower
crazy.
defense
What the
game and a farming game? Like, what?
I
Or
just saw
stopping
a
an alien
video.
invasion. How is that? So they're saying if aliens invaded us and were like killing us, that the left wing would be like, no, let's not fight back. Like, what? Obviously, everybody would unite to fight back.
Bro.
What did she say?
She said, "Surprise, fuckers! I learned to keep the Mexicans out playing Plants vs Zombies."
Yeah, right. Plants vs. Zombies taught me to keep the Mexicans out.
Oh my days.
Stupid.
Second, video games put the user to work on an instinctual level, making the gamer feel impulsive agreement with these ideologies. No, they don't. Like, what? That's never happened. I've never played Grand Theft Auto and then been like, oh man, we should go out and start punching people and stealing cars. Like, it totally doesn't. Playing Resident Evil is not equivalent to watching the movie because the controller wielding gamer experiences the desires of the game as their own desires, not as the desires of another. No, it's a game. It doesn't give you desires. You just want to play the game and win at it.
It gives you the desire to beat the game. That's
Yeah,
how
it gives you a desire to play the game more and beat it. Like not to actually
Or it
go on
doesn't
and,
and you
start
put it
shooting people
away.
in the face. Like that's ridiculous.
This shit is so silly.
The psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan distinguished between drives and instincts. While instincts come from within us, drives occur when political forces propel us in certain directions. In these terms, video games are drives masquerading as instincts, naturalizing right-wing ideologies in a way other media cannot be, offering its users to the chance to experience them on a personal level. Oh, God. In this way, the rationale of the gaming is to unite pleasurable impulse with political ideology, a process which renders gamers susceptible to discourses that urge people to follow their instincts while also prescribing what those instincts ought to be. Wait, but if you follow your instincts, which is not prescribed by anything, then how is it prescribing what those instincts ought to be? That doesn't even make sense. Trump's discourse on his proposal, U.S.-Mexico wall, and appeals to ethno-nationalism are cases in point. Supporters are not merely expected to agree logically, but to impulsively feel the political desire, the very logic of gaming.
What?
Not the logic of gaming. This person stated it was the logic of gaming, so therefore it must be? Like, no. Let me tell you, like, does this person understand that left-wingers play these same games? Why isn't this working on left-wingers then? You know, why aren't all these left-wingers that play this game turning right-wing?
Because this is an Uber lefty writing this article.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm more left than right, and I play video games consistently. Like, my entire
this is
life.
probably an uber lefty that's like,
yeah. Oh yeah, this guy totally is.
And, you know, misogynistic and blah blah blah.
Like I said, he's so left, but he agrees with what Donald Trump is saying, but he has to find a way to disagree with it. You know what I'm saying? Because he can't straight up say, like, I agree with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You know?
The cognitive
yeah, there's a cognitive dissonance, so he has to find a way around his cognitive dissonance.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Alfie.
They just need to feel like Like they are. It's like the right wing is responsible for everything bad. The
Muddy
left
Waters.
wing is perfect, and we know better, and we're progressive, and
Yeah, we're progressive.
we don't like violence in video games, and we're not as violent, even though
Yeah.
Antifa is really left wing.
Yeah, well, if we've noticed this huge far left push in video games is to try to turn them into shitty games nobody wants to fucking play. Like, look at oh yeah, so let me put a pause on this for a second. Devin made a video recently about Zoe Quinn, and they were talking about her game Depression Quest, right? And it's a really stupid like text-based game. It did shitty. Nobody wanted to play it.
It was shit.
And she blamed her hard time in video game creation on misogynist and shit like that, and sexism. And it's like, no, you just make shit games. You suck at what you like to do. It's nice that you're doing what you like to do, but you suck at it. Too bad. And so I wondered, the only game I ever heard her make was that game. So I wondered, has she made another game? Like, it's been years. That was 2013. Like, has she even bothered trying to make another game? She came out with a book. She made that Crash Override Network or whatever. And it's like, dude, she's doing all this shit except making games, and then saying she's a game creator and that she's not accepted because of sexism, but she's not working on anything. So I looked it up.
She just needed the one game.
So I looked it up. I went on her website, and she does have a new game coming out. She crowdfunded it and got over $80,000 for it. She was asking for $60,000. She got over $80,000 for it. And I'm looking, and I looked at the trailer of this game, and oh my god, it is fucking horrendous. Like,
what is it?
Nobody's gonna want to play this game. It's this thing in the 90s that went out of style in the 90s. The type of game that hasn't been around for like 20 years. It's called full motion video, and it's basically like a movie that you interact with. You know what I'm saying? But they've always been super boring, and that's why they all died out, because nobody wants to play a movie that you just click things here and there to make it things, you know? And basically it's like this really shitty comedy based on some meme. And she got actors in it, and it's super like to do with homosexuality. Like, everybody's gay and it has to do with butts. And it's just not funny. It's supposed to be a comedy, but it's not funny. It's really like 5th grade humor, you know, to do with butts and guys guys with like Speedos and a horse head on, you know, like those little horse head masks. Like, what? And basically it's like these little shitty mini games within it, while with this corny 5th grade humor type of story that makes no sense. It's completely outlandish. I'll show you the trailer later. If anybody want to look it up, you could look up Zoe Quinn's main website, and you'll see it on there. And YouTube has a trailer of it, but she has the link to the YouTube on there. It's really bad. You guys are gonna laugh. I showed Rogue yesterday. She was like, "What the fuck is this? This is a game?" She was like, "This is a game? What the fuck is this?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Wow, that looks horrible." I'm like, yeah, that's
Depression Quest wasn't much of a game either.
No, it wasn't. It was a text-based game, which you know, those went out in the 80s. People hardly play text-based games anymore.
Isn't that fucking retarded? Like, your game just sucks. Why can't you accept that? Why is it all misogyny's fault? Like, everything you do is amazing. Like, I can't stand that attitude. So she thinks that anything she pumps out is so great that anybody who opposes it is like, it's like the people who are like, if you don't like Black Panther, you're a fucking racist. You're just a racist.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? No, maybe it's just a shit movie.
Yeah, maybe we just didn't like the movie.
Exactly.
In the end, most people did like Black Panther. Yeah, so it's like that doesn't even work. I but like, all ready to be like, let's call out all these racists, and then everybody liked it. So it was like, yeah. You know why everybody liked it? Because they don't care that it has to do with Black people. You know, it's a good movie. Nobody's gonna care. But if you ruin a movie with your ideology and neglect the plot, you're gonna make a shitty movie. You know what I'm saying? That's like I've been saying for a while now. What's happening with comic books is they're putting their ideology above the plot, and people are dropping out in numbers because the stories suck. You know. And I'm not even against, you want to put your ideology in there, that's perfectly fine, but keep it subtle. Focus on the plot. If it's a good story, people aren't going to care either way, you know.
Exactly.
And you're willing, even if you don't agree with the ideology, you're willing to put that ideology aside because the story's so good, you know.
Yeah, I just can't stand women like this. It's like, Dude, I'm sorry. There's some things you are just gonna have to accept that like
That
men
you're
are
not good
generally
at.
better at and are into more. You know, like
I'm not even gonna say that because women have been in gaming since the
no,
'70s.
I'm not saying there aren't women who are good
Mhm.
at games and who
Oh
aren't
yeah,
good
but in
at
general,
gaming.
yeah. In
But
general,
but
men
if
are
you look
more
at
into it.
generalities and you look at
Hmm.
trends, right? You're
Oh
gonna
yeah.
see obvious. You're gonna see an
Huh.
obvious like difference in the levels of females versus males. You
Hmm.
just that's just a natural thing. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. It's okay.
Yeah, it's
And you know
okay.
what? There are some excellent female game developers. She
Yeah.
is just not one of
Yeah, you're
them.
sorry, Zoe, you're just not one of them. Like
Like
you
the
just don't have a
ones
knack
who
for it.
are good game developers aren't out here bitching about how there's misogynists and shit. They're fucking busting their ass making video games and doing shit.
And
They don't give a shit.
and you have the perfect example of her not being a great game developer. She doesn't even make complex games. She made a
Her game
text-based.
sucked, man.
Yeah, she made
It
a
was so
text-based
blah.
game, and now she's making a full movie video game where it's like a movie that you click. Like, there's nothing hard to program there. Like anybody can make a full movie video game.
Right.
You just film shit and program a few clicks into it. It's not that hard.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with text-based games. You type in commands. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
All you have to do is program it so that it tells you something, and you type in certain commands lead to certain other words that come up. It's not that hard.
And if people don't like your style, they don't like your style. I mean, I think people are more gravitating towards like console PC games that are way higher in like, you know, visual style and fanciness than
And
that
complexity,
stuff.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and complex programming. It's not easy to be. I mean, in general, it's not easy to be a video game developer.
I mean, you have to do it right. Like Cuphead
Mhm.
is like 1920 style, but it's fucking adorable.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, like
yeah.
but that's a high budget game.
There is a big rise of like indie retro games where people are starting to go backwards and doing like old school pixel games like NES era type stuff, which
Yeah.
is totally good, but cool. But again, you have to be good at knowing what's fun and what people like, because just because you're making a retro game doesn't mean it's going to be good. You know what I'm saying? They might be easier to make, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be fun. You know, that's something you have to have a talent for. You have to have a talent for knowing what people enjoy in video games.
Exactly.
And something that what I always liked about Mario Brothers, and something that Miyamoto is the guy who makes those games. There's something that he's very good at and was good at from the beginning. He started from like being 19 years old, and he made Super Mario Brothers, you know, and he's always been good at finding the balance between fun and challenging.
Yeah.
The game will be hard as fuck, but it never gets to the point where you get angry and want to stop playing, you know, because it's fun. He finds that perfect balance where, you know, if you fuck up that balance, you're done. You know, either the game's gonna be boring or it's gonna be too frustrating. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, let me get back to this. Let's see what other ridiculous shit this guy says. Angela Nagel's book. Oh yeah, wait. Billy. Yes, like Sega CD. Yeah, like those games. Angela Nagel's book Kill All Normies showed how disparate. How do you pronounce that word?
Disparate. Yeah.
Yeah, disparate right wing and apolitical troll communities coalesced into the alt-right, but the link between gaming and the right wing runs deeper and goes back further.
Oh my god.
There's another thing where
Wow.
all these people that were like anti-Gamergate, they just automatically assumed that all people that were Gamergate were right wing or alt-right. And it's not true. I was for Gamergate and I'm not right wing at all. I'm left. And a lot of people I know who are for Gamergate were left too. So it has nothing to do with left or right. That Gamergate had nothing to do with a political side. So games attracted right-wing players, no, because they carried right-wing messages and produced right-wing pleasures. And even more worryingly, they prepared apolitical gamers for the later embrace of right-wing values. When game makers like Oculus VR creator Palmer Luckey support right-wing and libertarian causes, we're not seeing a new trend of gamers turning to the right, but a clue to the structure of gaming and its historical role in incubating such ideologies. This is supreme nitpicking. Like, they pick certain games too. Like, if you want to go into gaming, I mean, we can go through like Nintendo's entire library. Nintendo themselves are left. You know what I'm saying? They're very progressive in their viewpoints. So it's like, it's way off to even say that games have been right wing.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. In 1990s, another theoretical response to gaming emerged, which has, this is what I was talking about, which has recently been reasserted. New commenters argued that games provided a channel for frustrations that might otherwise be unleashed onto society, making games a protection from violence rather than a cause of it. The two positions make different mistakes. No, they don't. That's actually an accurate statement.
That's a study.
Yeah, that's a study, and it was accurate that games do provide an outlet for people who would be violent outside, but are instead, unleashing it in the games. And
this is what I mean by like negating human nature. Like, I'm sorry, but we're not as amazing as we think we were. We have violent tendencies and all these fucked up things. Like, look, it's so retarded.
You guys always talk about how I'm so like calm and chill and shit, and how I never get angry. You know why that is? Because I have tons of hobbies.
Yeah, exactly.
I have tons of outlet for my stress and anger. I play guitar. I read, I write, I play video games, I watch shows, I have tons of things. I make videos and shit. I have tons of outlets. And this is what people need. There's people who have a very little threshold for stress and get very violent. These people who feel this way can, when they get frustrated, they can sit down and play a video game. You know what I'm saying? And chill out and enjoy it and be like, you know what? I'm enjoying myself. I'm not feeling so angry anymore. There are some people I've seen that do get frustrated when they play games and get angry, but those people stop playing the game and they start cooling down. So, like, regardless, there's always an outlet. Trump's recourse to the old argument about gaming overstates the role of games and places culture over legal and economic conditions. He goes after the gamers to deflect attention from the gun laws underlying mass shootings. On the other hand, the idea that games prevent violence downplays their role, implying that violence and misogynistic desires exist in all of us, and games do no more than provide an outlet for such impulses. That is it. That's bullshit. Violent and misogynist desires do exist in all of us. That is true. Those are instinctual. Yeah, those are instinctual. Like, we are instinctively violent and misogynistic and misandrous. Like, we can't stop that. The best we could do is stop that within ourselves, but it's not going to be. Yeah. But are they trying to say
that's what it comes down to, is the individual taking responsibility for their own fucking actions.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I feel that with so many conversations that we have like this, it always comes down to this. Take fucking responsibility for your goddamn actions.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Jay. It seems like everybody just wants to pass the buck, right? And
exactly, mate. That is 100. Yeah, that is it.
We aren't violent and misogynistic. It's the games that are making us like that. Like, no.
Yeah.
But see, this is where the study that they're saying is wrong said the opposite. It said, no, we're violent and misogynistic, and these games are providing an outlet for it, for us to release those things onto a virtual world as opposed to going out and releasing it on actual people,
and not just that, but they provide a way of experiencing those things while not actually hurting
without actually hurting
party.
Look, I like violence, I don't like hurting people.
Exactly.
But I like
violence towards other people. Yeah, I'm not fond of that. But violence in a video game is fucking amazing.
That's entertaining. Violence in a movie, that's entertaining. Two people agreeing to beat the shit out of each other is entertaining to me. Yeah. But now if somebody goes out and just beats the shit out of somebody for no reason, that's not entertaining.
Whoa, that's not entertaining.
That's exactly. But, I love fucking watching kickboxing and MMA. I love fucking beating the shit out of people. I love shooting. I even sit here sometimes, my friends come over and I go, yeah, let's play some Call of Duty. I feel like shooting the shit out of somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Mate, I'm the same. The same. When I'm feeling shitty, I'll be like, yeah, I need to kill some motherfuckers.
Exactly. And I don't literally want to kill a person. I just want to, release some stress by virtually shooting other virtual things. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like jerking off to porn. It's good.
Exactly.
That's another hobby of mine that releases stress. So for everybody out there, jerk off.
If there was no porn, so you think there'd be more rape?
Oh hell yeah, I think so.
I think there would be.
I think there would be.
Yeah.
And I also think there'd be a lot more murder. There'd be a lot more like assault. There'd be a lot more violence in general. I think violence has gone down since the 90s, since there were violent video games, but I think that also has to do with the prominence of the internet, because the internet really started getting big around the early 90s. And guess what? Every guy could go on the internet, look at porn freely, and jerk the fuck off all fucking day long if they wanted to. And that's going to prevent you from being stressed out and going out to murder people. So this is advice for everyone out there. Jerk off and jerk off more.
Yeah, please.
You ain't jerking off enough. If you're getting angry in your day and you feel like you're getting angry too much, you're not jerking off enough. You need to jerk off some more.
I agree.
I agree.
Yep. Violence has decreased quite a bit over the years. It's funny how it's so weird to me how there's people who are like, man, I wish I lived in like the 50s or the 20s.
Yeah.
It's like, are you fucking retarded? Like, what is wrong with you?
I've never looked far enough back, but from this, but because of in the 90s when they were like trying to argue that video games were making people violent, I would research this stuff, and I saw like the 70s and 80s violence was increasing consistently, but it capped in the early 90s, and right around the time where Mortal Kombat came out, which is what started the whole thing about, oh, video games are getting too violent. And also around that time, AOL and the internet started getting really big, right? So that's around the time it capped. And since that time in the 90s, I think it was like 93, 94, it consistently dropped and didn't stop dropping until about a year ago, which is like started getting violent again. But we still, I have to say 2016, because we don't have 2017's numbers yet. But it started going back up, and we've been seeing that happening all over the news recently, and that has to do more with political unrest than anything else, in my opinion. I don't know how true that is, but all right. The position, where was I? Prevent downplays the role. Okay, this position ignores the fact that gamers can have a concrete ideological effect on us. That games can have a concrete ideological effect on us and make us desire politically charged things on a personal level. There's not very many political games. I don't see that at all. In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, Hollywood cinema transformed the desires, empathies, and emotions of a global population, even for those who never went to the movies, and it's harder to recognize the pattern in your own context. And we may need to consider whether we are in the midst of a comparable revolution with video games today. Currently, the new desires incubated by games lean far to the right, and without more progressive games on the market, we get down to why this article is being made right here. This person is pushing for more progressive games. Their kind of progressive game. Not, technically we're progressives. They want a different type of progressive games, not the type of progressive games we would, kind of game we would consider progressive. Though some are emerging, the future may be even bleaker than a political present. Yeah. Alfie Brown is the author of the PlayStation Dream World, a philosophy of games and politics.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah, that's the end of that. So what you guys think of that article?
Fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Everything's so overblown.
It's insane, right?
I gotta, like you said, I agree with Trump, but I gotta make him look bad somehow.
Yeah,
because I can't totally agree with him.
That's exactly there. The cognitive dissonance right there on the whole Trump thing was insane.
Yeah, Leica showed me that yesterday, and I was like, oh my God, reading that article like this is fucking insane. Like, wow. So crazy. Rogue said her brain hurts.
So did they, correct me if I'm wrong, but what right-wing games are there? Really? It was like,
yeah, exactly.
Like actual,
we're talking about mainstream games, I can't think of any.
Yeah, exactly.
There's those shitty games people pass out for free on the internet, and they'll have like, beat up this person, like beat up. Remember the Anita Sarkeesian one and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But that's not even right wing.
No, that's not even right wing. But I mean those kind of games, and they'll do.
Yeah, but that's just audience targeting, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a bunch of people that don't like this person, so let's make a game where they can beat them up.
But I mean, you can see the ridiculous stretches this person does to try to call a game right wing, like Plants vs. Zombies, really?
Farmville?
Farmville?
Like, really? The restoration of nature? Is that just a right wing concern? I'm pretty sure every decent human being gives a shit about nature to some degree.
I would go so far as to compare Farmville to communism rather than the far right. I think it's closer to the far left than the far right. Even though it's not really communist, but I'm saying that would be I would accept that comparison more than the saying that it's far right.
Well, actually, no. Think about it. Plants vs Zombies is a bit. It's probably more far left than it is anywhere else. Because I know quite a lot of far lefties who think that humanity is a plague on this planet, and we need to cull our numbers because save the planet and save the animals and.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
kill the eaters, right? And save the plants. But man, that dude had to take some incredible leaps and bounds to pull that off.
Oh, he
pull
did,
that article off. It's an insane. But what's funny is how you get to the end and you find the reasoning for this. Like he's trying to promote progressive games, right? He wants more feminist games, guys. We need to have more Mary Sue characters in games.
Yeah.
There are people who agree with this twat.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of people who do, and it seems like he is a gamer because it seems like he wrote books on PlayStation and stuff like that. But what I notice a lot is of these regressive people who try to put themselves in a certain media is that they're not really part of that community, you know? Like Anita Sarkeesian, right? How she kept trying to say she was a gamer, but she was caught multiple times saying she doesn't like video games and that she had to endure playing all these games that she didn't like in order to write about them. So she really isn't a gamer, and she's putting herself in games. Like,
this is kind of like how Erin thinks she knows things about things she's never experienced before.
Yeah, that's what it is. That people try to.
It's just straight up conspiracy theorists. There are gaps in their information, so instead of actually being a part of whatever it is and learning about it and getting into it, they just fill in the gaps with whatever bullshit their brain comes up with. It's like the god of the gaps. Like your brain does this naturally because like it needs a complete narrative. So what does it do where narrative is missing? It fills in the missing information with bullshit. That's why there's so many fucking conspiracy theorists and so much stupid information out there that makes no fucking sense. It's like people who are actually doing these things are like, what the fuck are you bitches talking about?
This is the perfect example of what you're talking about was the whole gender wage gap thing that happened with that one article or that one research. And even though the research was debunked and people debunked it, I didn't even go for the debunk. I think that it's defeated at square one, where it gives you numbers, raw numbers, but it doesn't give you a conclusion. And this is where the feminists did the whole thing of what you're talking about. They filled in the gap. They saw the numbers and built a narrative around it, as opposed to trying to find out why those numbers are there. They just put their own reasoning in it. And it's like, oh, I beat you at square one. It never said it was because of misogyny. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Until you can prove it is, that your argument's flawed, you know?
Exactly. I mean, and it's easy to make shit up when you don't understand something. Like, back to feminists, like the wage gap thing. It's like, we're comparing averages. And the averages are different for reasons that have nothing to do with misogyny. You just put that there because it works with your particular brand of ideology or narrative.
Yeah, they didn't even look into it enough to see that there was incorrect information.
Like, hey, look at the numbers. It's the numbers. Look at the numbers.
Oh,
it's like
you
can make up any story you want about the fucking numbers if you don't understand them and you just look at them straight up. Like
it was like a year or two after that research came out that the people that made that research came out and said, don't use this research. It's incredibly flawed. You know what I'm saying? They realized they fucked up. And this was before the whole feminist thing started coming up with people using that study to show a gender wage gap. This was even before that, because that research was from like 5 or 6 years before. And they came out even 2 years after that and said, don't use this research. It's flawed. We fucked up. You know what I'm saying? We didn't account for these things that we should have accounted for. But the feminists still used it, and they ignored that the actual people who did the research says not to use that. That's how ridiculous they got.
What I find the most challenging in all of these issues is that, like, people seem to want to completely dismiss human nature, like our nature to form biases, our naturalistic tendencies towards violence and hate and negativity. Like, these are things that are a part of us as human beings. Yeah, of course we can transcend those things, but that doesn't mean everybody can. And it doesn't mean that, like, if you don't acknowledge the problem, you're just going to keep pretending it's something else and it's going to persist. And then you can blame your video games. And then you can blame fucking action movies or whatever the hell else you think you should fill that gap with. But, like, the gaps are already filled with information about exactly how we are. So we need to find ways to work around that. And I just don't get the need to be like, oh, it's right-wing fucking video games that are making violence worse in the world. It's like, no. It's fucking tribalism. And it's our fucking, like, it's our need to be accepted into social groups and be a part of something. It goes way deeper than fucking video games.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. You can't have a real conversation with anybody until they start to accept these things about just our base nature.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, if they can't accept it, that's just like Jay was saying, they have to place the blame on others, you know. They can't accept that people are just this way in general, and that
we think we're above animal, like, we think we are separate from animals. That's the problem. Like, obviously you and I, us three don't, right? But, like, people think we are some kind of, like, amazing creation of the universe that is separate from every other living thing on the planet.
And here we go. We're going straight into, why do they think this? Because they have some hang up about God and us being created.
Yeah. But in the end, all living beings are in a transitional period, and we're transitional as well. These things like violence and all that, we still have our lizard brains, we still have instinct, we're still violent. We can't help that. We're in a transition. It's possible that maybe in the future we'll evolve to not be violent anymore, but we're nowhere near that. You know what I'm saying? That's millennia away. Things happen slowly, and we're still in transition. We're still in between.
That's difficult. It's difficult to imagine a world without violence when, like, at the genetic level, there's competition.
There's competition at all levels.
Competition starts at, like, the microbiological level.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, you're not going to get rid of that. Obviously, there's ways we can deal with it better, but again, like, nothing is going to be properly dealt with until we actually just accept the nature of ourselves. We don't, though.
Yeah. You're not going to find solutions to problems if you don't accept the problem in the first place.
No.
If you can't accept the problem, or if you can't understand the problem, or if you keep passing the problem off as something else, you're never going to find a solution. You're never going to try to fix things. Or you're going to try to fix things in the wrong way. You know, it's not going to work.
Exactly.
Another thing we were talking about last night, Aimee, was how the tactic that SJW tactic, or the tactic that these certain vegans use, is too harsh, and what they cause is a reactionary society. So,
they're coming at you reactionarily to begin with. Like, the discussion hasn't even begun. No debate has started. Nothing has started, and they're already coming out at you antagonistically.
Yeah, it's a confrontational approach, and it's like, dude, that's not the way to do things. What you do when you come at somebody confrontationally like that is that you're putting them on the defense. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They think they're under attack, and when you're under attack, it's fight or flight, right?
Exactly.
So they don't understand that.
Imagine being at war and you just don't wait. You're just fucking running at people with your guns and shit. What do you think they're gonna do? You think they're gonna just stand there and be like, "Oh, all right, whatever, let this guy go"? Like, no, you're gonna fucking arm up as well. Like, it's just.
Yeah, if I don't know
you, expect you to be able to have a discussion when they come at you in that way already, and it's like, do you even know how to people?
Have you ever
peopled before?
Yeah, like, they have no understand. That's why I say that these people are socially inept. They don't understand how to interact with people.
But they think they're better, and that's what is so fucking astonishing to me. Like, they already, before anything has started, before any points have been put on the table, they already think they are better than you. So what is the point? What is the fucking point of talking to anybody like that? There is no point. It's a waste of time.
Yeah. Just like I said about the whole debating a fucking child rapist thing.
Yeah, like, what the
fuck? That's psychotic to me. I don't know. I cannot understand that at all. Why would you debate a child rapist? It makes no sense to me. And then but yeah, you create this reactionist society, which is what's happening now, right? The SJWs came in way too hard, and for something that happens naturally, you know, like, all right, we had a racist society. There was civil rights. That was cool. That happened. Martin Luther King was very not violent, right? And he wanted to solve things in a non-violent way. And that worked, if you notice, right? Like after that, you know, there was a period where racism had been going down, but now we're at a period where people are pushing it too hard, and now we're having a reactionary opposite side. So we had all these far lefts come out and be very harsh, and now what's happening is we're having a rise of a far right. And and who caused that? You know what I'm saying? They caused it by being so harsh. Like if these things happen naturally, like we will naturally stop being racist as a human being.
Every action causes an equal and opposite reaction.
I mean, it happens slowly. Sorry, it happens slowly for some people. Some people can't stand how slow it's going, but nothing is fast. You know what I'm saying? Evolution takes thousands and thousands of years. Changing a social conscience takes decades. It doesn't happen overnight. No, you can't just come out and say, "Hey, stop being racist," and somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, okay."
But they think that by being that extreme, that they're like, by being that extreme, they think that the implementation of whatever solutions they think they have will be fast. And it's like, no, you're never gonna force people. You're never going to force people to conform to you just because you're using force. Like, obviously, that has not worked in the fucking past. It doesn't
work. And I've had a couple of vegans tell me, well, I was convinced because somebody was so harsh to me. Well, guess what? You're one of like 8 billion people on the planet. You know what I'm saying? It's not working in vast numbers. It's working for very few people. And in fact, it's making the vast numbers be reactionary towards you and be like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna eat even more meat. You know how many tweets I see of people saying, for every burger you don't eat, I'm gonna eat 3. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like you leave people with no choice, you know? It's like, it's so fucking stupid people want to take drastic measures. It's like Trump with all this, like there's so many examples of this. Oh, you know what? Tariffs on all fucking imports. Well, guess what? Now everybody else is gonna have to do the same fucking thing. Because you can't, like, why is it that, like, oh my God, we just want to drag everybody down to be stupid with us? Like, that's what seems to be the MO here.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. It's a strange mentality. I don't think people realize. I guess they don't realize it, that doesn't work, that causes the opposite to happen.
But they gotta think they're doing good. Like, no sane person sees that as good, but they obviously do, and they're not sane.
No, that's not.
Anyone who's extreme like that is not a balanced individual.
Like the whole punch a Nazi thing. Like, look, Richard Spencer got punched. Do you think that made things better? Like,
dude, he's not even a Nazi.
No, he's not even a Nazi, but in the end, that's how they view it, right? And they were all justifying it, saying, yeah, you could punch Nazis. In fact, you know, anytime you see a Nazi, punch them. And it's like, what do you think that's doing? That's not doing what they think it's doing. Remember that? What was that girl, the black girl, Akila or something? She said the reason that Hitler rose was because nobody punched him. Like, what? No. What? In fact, it was the opposite. He was pushed down all his life. So he did the opposite and started pushing everyone else down. You know what I'm saying? So the truth is, you punched Richard Spencer. Now, guess what? Now all those people that agreed to Richard Spencer have become way more resolute.
So now you have fucking violence privilege if you're not a Nazi.
Yeah, on top of the moral inconsistencies in that. You know,
yeah, it's so stupid. Oh, violent. It's like the whole violence is never okay except when it's kind of like free speech all across the board, except no, bitch. It's either free speech or no free speech, or it's violence or no violence.
Yeah, just like Jay just did. Jay just did a video with me in it talking about what happened with Tommy Robinson, where he got attacked, and what's her name, Lucy Brown?
Yeah, Lucy Brown.
Yeah, Lucy Brown. They were beating on her. They pushed her down on the ground and were punching her. These people are the same people who say to never punch a woman. You can never hit a woman. Yet here they are beating on a woman because they disagree with her ideology. And what do you think that's going to do? That's
But
going to
it's
make
like
the people
so
against them more
fucking
resolute.
slimy. Like, because like this was the whole Antifa thing too, where like,
Yeah.
oh, words are violent to me, therefore I can retaliate with violence. What
Yeah.
the
With
fuck? That
physical
is
violence.
so fucking slimy. You're a piece of shit human being. That's what you are.
Yeah. They are pieces of shit.
Like,
They.
it's so awful. Oh, we
This
want to
is
be the privileged group that we can abuse whoever we feel deserves abuse because we think they're a piece of shit. No, bitch, you're just a piece of shit.
this is the
It's
way
just
I see them.
you.
They are the thing that they are opposed to. And
Exactly.
the only difference is they justify it. That's the difference. They justify it with, well, because they're the bad ones. So it's justified that we do what they do. And that's
Yeah.
like, that's just not. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, right? You don't see this so much anymore, but when I grew up, I didn't have cable, right? I was poor. There wasn't much cable anyway. You know, there was like maybe 10 channels you got from cable, and not many people had it. But a lot of shows with me growing up were shows that had moral lessons, right? And
Yeah.
they would teach you things like don't stoop to the level of the people who do things against you. You know what I'm saying? Like if there's a
Yeah, yeah.
bully to their level, you know what I'm saying? You no, like defend yourself, but don't stoop to their level and be a bully, right? And it was all about stop. You know, there was a lot of lessons about stopping circular violence. You know, if your dad beats you, now you don't have a kid and beat them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And you don't get that so much anymore. I don't know if that's been a problem like with millennials. They didn't grow up with that, so I don't know if that's an issue. There was also a thing of like be yourself when I was a kid, and you don't see that too much anymore, and like lessons like that. So I don't know. I don't know if that's the cause of it. I grew up to the Twilight Zone,
Yeah.
which is super moral. Yeah, like had super morality tales. But like as we were talking about, those morality tales were subtle. They were in the guise of sci-fi stories, you know,
Yeah.
which was purposeful. He wanted Rod Serling wanted to make moral stories, but he couldn't get those on TV. So he decided to disguise them in sci-fi stories so that he could put his moral stories out and still be acceptable on TV. You know, it was a good idea. It made for great stories. His second love, besides moral tales, were sci-fi stories. So that worked out perfect. And if you watch the Twilight Zone, I think Aimee, you haven't watched much Twilight Zone, right?
I know of it.
You know of it, but you haven't watched much, right?
No.
That's wonderful stories. We're one day we got to run through some of those.
Hell
But
yeah.
but yeah, I grew up to that all my life, and I'll be honest with you, Twilight Zone taught me more about morality and how to live, way more than my parents did, than anybody else did. That's basically Twilight Zone raised me. Like,
Yeah.
and I learned, and from that I learned to accept people, to not be racist, you know, that violence was bad, that, you know, not to have mob mentality, you know, that we should accept who we are and not like try to change ourselves to be something else, you know, which is a lot of what we're seeing now. All those things that I mentioned, we're seeing those things happening, you know. And I am going to do a series at one point where I go through like each episode of the Twilight Zone and try to equate those to today, because they are very they say they predicted the way society was going. Like a lot of those stories are still or even more relevant today. And it's insane. That's like kind of like George Orwell with 1984, like how you can write a story that predicts the way society is going, and then like 80 years later, you know, it's exactly what's going on.
Yeah. It's because people don't ever change, really.
No, yeah, you go, yeah, like Devin always says, there's trends, right? And you can see those trends and predict the outcome, and that's exactly what a lot of these writers did. Except with 1984, I think George Orwell, I think he was writing about communism. I'm not totally sure, but I was gonna say you would have expected that a totalitarian style government would come from the right, but it seems like it's coming from the left now. So that's something that he might have not predicted. I feel like he might have predicted it to have come from like a right wing standpoint. But it seems like it's coming from a far left standpoint right now. They're the ones who want you to not say certain things, and you know, you have to live this way and you have to accept certain things even if it's not true.
So wouldn't that make them extreme right? They're just under the guise of left-wing
Well, it's authoritarianism, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just under the guises of the left instead of.
But this is where right and left don't make. This is where you can't just bottle things up as right and left, because
exactly.
Where they are being fascistic in their tactic, they still want like a communist type society. So they're still left in some senses, but they want it in a right wing type of way, you know. So that's why you can't really bottle things up in right or left, because it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, I would just say that.
Yeah, Finn just said it. Orwell always wrote about communism, so I guess he did see it from a left wing, that the left wing would be the totalitarian ones, which is funny because fascism is right wing, which is totalitarian. So I guess any extreme is totalitarian, right?
Or authoritarian.
Or authoritarian, yeah. Any extreme is, regardless of which direction you're going politically.
It's kind of weird to label either fascism or extreme socialism as left or right, because they both fall under authoritarianism. What do the values matter if you want to be authoritarian?
Yeah, exactly. If you force things on people, it's you're kind of losing the plot. We can't really force things on people too much. It doesn't work.
Like, I know that the right wing is more known for like wanting to keep things under control, and I think what I've understood from that is just like whatever change occurs, they want it to occur at a gradual and slow pace, which is fair. But the extreme end of that, I guess, would be the fascism. Now, like with the left wing, yeah, they want more changes and they want to be more progressive, but it's the pace of change that differs between the right and the left wing, right? Like the left wing wants the changes now, whereas I think the right actually has a sensible approach, because whatever change you do implement, it is going to be gradual. It does have to be step by step.
Yeah, that's the point of conservative,
right away.
That's the point of the term conservative, is to conserve the values. But you do make changes. It's just slow, right? Because you're conserving things.
Yeah, but that's more sensible to do, because no change can realistically be implemented very fast. You have to do it slowly.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about huge populations throughout which the change needs to ripple, right? So it has to be. You have to kind of like, there has to be some kind of like hybrid between the left and the right, where like this is just recognized, because it's just nature. It's just nature how things progress slowly and over time.
Yeah, that's where I say that things happen naturally regardless, right? But when you force things to happen, you're actually slowing it down.
Yeah.
You're stopping its progression, and
because it causes more problems when you try to force things, right?
Mm-hmm. So strange. These people don't get it.
No.
I also find it funny how, also bringing back to the point, goes back to the point that Jay was saying about making excuses and shit and not taking accountability, is like how they want to. It's strange to me how they want to stop certain things, like say the whole body shaming thing, right? How do they stop this? They want to put an end to like women looking a certain way on TV, or oh, we can't have these kind of ads because these women feel ashamed of looking at these women. No, you're coming up with the wrong solutions. Wouldn't the solution be to educate these women to not worry about what other things look like? You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't that be a better solution? Or to be healthier, that's even better. But I'm saying, if you want to take it to the point where, you know, people can be fat, all right, whatever. You want to be fat, if that's what makes you happy, go for that. But don't look at other things and blame other things for you feeling uncomfortable about it. You know what I'm saying? If you're happy with being fat, what does it matter that other people are, you know, looking healthy, right?
And if science says that, oh yeah, obesity leads to cancer, don't be like, oh, that's fat shaming, when it's a scientific fact and it can be proven with science.
Yeah. Instead of bitching at companies,
fact shaming.
Fact shaming, yeah. Or instead of bitching at companies for not having enough women, why not try to educate women into being into that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's not the company's fault that they don't have enough women. Maybe not enough women are going into that.
Women and men naturally have tendencies
Yeah.
to go one way or the other when it comes to occupational decisions. Like that has nothing to do with, that's not society's problem.
Yeah, it's a very good, valid point that people make when they say, why are all these women bitching about not enough women in STEM research all have like gender studies degrees? Like, why didn't they go into STEM's research then, you know?
Exactly.
And I find that to be a extremely valid point, because it
It's
shows
so hypocritical.
Yeah.
Like
it shows
why
what women
are
are
you
into.
bitching about what other women want to or do not want to do?
Mm-hmm.
You're not fucking doing it, so shut the fuck up.
Shit, let's start complaining about why aren't there enough men in gender studies?
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's a very valid point, man. It
it's
just
cool when
shows
it's
what
like,
women are into
why
and
are
what men
there
are into.
not as many women CEOs? Oh yeah, well, why aren't there as many women in sanitation, bitch?
That this was an argument that Destiny brought up, right? And I really hated this argument, and I thought he was so bad at it. And
I
people
can't
tried
stand
to,
that guy.
yeah, I can't stand it either. And I thought it was such a shitty argument, and for some reason, people couldn't defeat him on it for some reason. I was listening to it like, what? And he basically brings up the point that women weren't into video games or like game design because it wasn't marketed towards them. That's basically
That's bullshit.
Yeah, that's basically what his argument was. But I'm like, my idea was, well, how do you know that it wasn't the other way around? How do you know it wasn't marketed towards them because women weren't into it? You know what I'm saying? Like, it could be the other way around. Where is he getting this idea that it's the other way? And it's like, oh, but then once it changed and it started being marketed towards women, now we're seeing a rise of women in gaming. No, I'm saying, well, couldn't that just be that video games became more popular and more mainstream, so more women were exposed to it? And then now you can market it towards women because now women are into it. Like
women are always the victim.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That again is somebody looking at the stats and making their own conclusions to it, as opposed to like trying to think, could there be other possible conclusions? So, you know,
yeah, but
can we research this to find out?
He said that people should be hired based on their lived experience.
Yeah, isn't that
what?
Yeah, I remember. I watched that one. That's ridiculous.
He had a stream with Medicare.
With Medicare, yeah.
It was such a frustrating and painful stream to listen to because, like, I thought he was trolling.
Mm-hmm.
Because the shit he was saying was so outrageous.
Ridiculous. Yeah, sometimes his arguments are so ridiculous.
And Jim even said, so are you saying that they should hire, it was like either the black person or the woman over the person who has more merit because of their lived experience? Like, he straight out asked him that. And his answer was, yeah.
Yeah, and then he says, dog?
Oh,
yeah. It's because there wasn't any women working there, dog. They weren't marketing towards women, dog. Like, no. Yeah, he thinks that companies should purposefully hire women even if they are bad at the job. Like, they can just fill up roles of women. Because he's like, oh, because in the future, other women will grow up seeing those women working there, and then they'll want to work there. And it's like, so we're going to have people who don't want to work somewhere where people don't want them to work there for the purpose of future people wanting to work there. Like,
what is the point of getting any kind of qualifications at all then?
Yeah, exactly. What's the point?
Hire me because I have tits.
Get rid of yeah, hire me because I have tits. I have a vagina. Hire me.
Like, it's so funny too because it's not like I feel like I could use the oppressed, fucking colored, fucking this and that card to get whatever I wanted in life too, but it's just so gross to me.
Yeah, why would I want to do that?
Like, my worth is not based on the fact that I'm a woman or that I'm of color or that I've never been oppressed. Let me just say that. It's so retarded.
I've argued people with that mentality that think that you should hire like a person of color over someone else, even if they're not more qualified. And I've argued with people like that. And they always disappear right after I ask them, so you'd be comfortable getting a job, finding out that you were hired strictly because of your color and not because you were good at that job. Right. And they always stop responding at that point. I never get a response to that. And it's like, it's strange because it seems like they know these things, but they don't want to admit it either to themselves or to others. I don't know what it is.
I think people just really like being the victim.
This happened. Oh, actually, this argument happened very recently with this guy from Chicago, this black dude from Chicago, right? He was like a rapper or something. But I posted something about, it was Devin had his channel taken down, and we started with, that's when we were realizing that all his videos were getting flagged that had the word white in it.
Yeah.
And I was saying, yo, this is fucked up that, so I wrote a post about, yo, this is fucked up that people can defend the white race from people being racist towards them, and they get taken down for defending their own race, you know, and not being racist, just defending their own race. Meanwhile, these people who are making attacks on that race and being racist themselves aren't being taken down and are promoted.
Like Ghazi?
Yeah.
And fucking then Francesca Ramsey?
Yeah, exactly. And that other chick that was talking about whiteness, I forgot what her name is, the chick with the dreads and shit, who complains about cultural appropriation, but her name is like something like Sakura or something, or some Japanese thing she put as her name. It's like, that's not your name, bitch. You culturally appropriated that shit. And then you're complaining about cultural appropriation. You're using
it's okay
Japanese
if everybody else does it except for whites.
Yeah, exactly. So meanwhile, I'm arguing with this dude, and he's telling me there's no such thing as anti-white videos. He's like, what the fuck you mean anti-white videos? You mean, well, what you mean to say is that YouTube is taking down white racists, you know, who think because they're racist that anybody talking about white people must be racist or something. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
So Leica joins me in on it, and Aiden too, and we start posting examples. We start posting the, you know, Black Hitler and that chick
Dude,
out with the Japanese name.
Oh,
he's the worst.
He actually refers to white people as fucking toilet seat complexion individuals.
And stuff like that. I showed him that video that Devin did on that dude Minnesota boy. I showed him the Minnesota boy video where he specifically says, I don't like you white people. If I make my videos for black people, if you're white, go away. If you're a fan of mine and you're white, go away. But if you're going to keep watching my videos, don't post. Don't tell me you're watching videos because I don't like you. That's straight up what he said. And this guy says, no, he's talking to racists. So I said, no, he's not. This is exactly what he said. And I said, let's switch all the times he says white to black. Would you be comfortable with that? If I came out and made a video and said, I don't like black people, don't watch my videos if you're black, that's cool with you? That's totally cool with you? Again, no response. He started talking about something else. And then I went to some other thing where, you know, and the end of the conversation ended up with me saying the same thing again, like, oh, so you're totally cool that getting a job that, you know, you only got because of your color, not because you're better at it than someone else, you know? And he stopped arguing. Oh, at the end, he ended up finally admitting that he was racist and saying that, no, actually, I don't give a fuck about white people and this and that. And I was like, oh, so you are racist. That's why you're arguing this.
Yeah. It's just amazing to me. Like, I could never imagine having the mindset, I'm black, so I should get this over you because you're white.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That shouldn't.
Like, what? What the
fuck,
man?
Don't you want to earn things? Like, why
exactly.
Don't you want to
earn things? And YouTube fucking promotes these people. Like Francesca, she, you know what? She may have a happy smile and have really nice shiny white teeth and look at you and smirk and be all jokey wokey and shit. But the shit she's saying is fucking incendiary.
Oh yeah. And on top of that, she consistently gets way more dislikes than likes.
Oh yeah.
What's the point of that system if YouTube's not going to take into account? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but Netflix did the same thing with Amy fucking Schumer because everybody downvoted her awful special because it was actually shit.
Yeah, and what did she say? Oh, it was the alt-right trolls. It was the alt-right trolls went and downvoted my video.
That's all the Trump alt-righters.
Like, you know what?
You're not funny.
I gave her the benefit of the doubt and watched that, and it was not funny.
No.
And in fact, not only was it not funny,
if it was the case of it just being alt-right trolls, that's got to say a lot because that means the only people that watched it was alt-right trolls.
Yeah, that's true. That means she didn't. Well, yeah, if you take away all the dislikes from the alt-right trolls, then she was left with very few likes. And that means she doesn't have many fans. That's a great point. That's a great point. But in the end, it's like that's another cognitive dissonance. Like, not only was her comedy shit, but it was the same jokes she was making 10 years ago. And if you go into her career and you start
Yeah.
realizing that she stole a lot of jokes, there's
Yep.
many proof of this on YouTube. You can see proof after proof of her stealing jokes.
Mhm.
And after she got called out for stealing jokes and said that she didn't do them, or at least didn't do them intentionally, now all her jokes were her own, and they sucked. You know what I'm saying? So the only times where she was doing good and she actually was funny, because I had found some of her jokes funny in the beginning, was because she was stealing good comedians' jokes. And that's why she was funny. That's the only reason she was funny in the past.
Like, sorry, I don't want to hear about your stinky vagina.
For years.
Like, you're not funny. Like,
Yeah.
she found a gimmick. It worked
Yeah.
for a little bit.
It worked
and then
for a
she
little while,
kept
but
trying
yeah.
to beat it over the head. And it's just not funny anymore. People just think you're gross.
And there's the thing about comedians. Like, I used to be really big into comedy. I'm not so much anymore. But I used to be really big into comedy. And I used to study comedians and stuff like that. And you get two types of comedians, right? And there's the comedians who get big really fast, and it's usually because of a gimmick. But if like, some comedians are good, they can evolve from that and become better, you know, and they end up standing on their own outside of that gimmick. But then you have the ones who can't go past that. And they just fail. They drop. You've seen that with, and they start stealing jokes. You've seen that. We're seeing that with Amy Schumer right now. We saw that with Carlos Mencia. All his jokes were race type jokes, right? That started fading away. People stopped laughing, so he started stealing jokes. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it is. If you have a gimmick and then your gimmick stops working, you get desperate. You start stealing jokes. Then you have other comedians who don't use gimmicks at all, and those are the best ones. And those are the ones who evolve and get better over time, you know, and they mature in the right way. The same thing goes with like music and stuff like that, and any kind of art. If you use a gimmick, it's gonna get tired. And after it gets tired, you're lost, you know, and then you start trying to emulate others and ripping off others.
It also just leaves a poor taste in someone's mouth when you clearly have stolen a distinctive style or a distinctive joke or whatever.
You saw that. Dane Cook was another one. Dane Cook was another one. He blew up way too fast. Jokes? He stole a joke from Louis C.K. actually.
Did he?
Yeah, if you watch an episode of Louis, they actually address it. He actually had him on the show to address him stealing the joke.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a really good episode too. But it also brought up a good point on Dane Cook's side, which I kind of agree with, which happens as well, because art is very hard to, like, memories are imperfect. So sometimes you don't mean to steal something, but you do.
You do, yeah.
As a guitarist, I know this because this happens to me consistently. I'll make a riff, I'll think it's awesome, and I'm like, dude, this riff kicks ass. I start writing a song to it. The next day I start working on it again, and I'm like, wait, this is already a song. You know what I'm saying? And I catch myself, and I go, dude, this is like a Metallica song or something. I'm like, oh, damn. You know? So I can understand that this happens in comedy, and maybe sometimes they don't catch themselves and they do it. You know what I'm saying? You saw your favorite comedian 10 years ago. Now it pops in your head, that joke, and you don't remember that you saw it 10 years ago. You think you made it.
Yeah.
It happens. Which is the point in that episode, because it had to do with a joke about an itchy asshole or something like that. And but Dane Cook did it almost like the same kind of joke. So Louis C.K. approached him about it, and then Dane Cook says, what, do you think you're the only guy in the world who's had an itchy asshole? Like, you know, like someone else is gonna come up with a joke about it, you know. And then Louis C.K. tells him, well, do you think it's a possibility, since you were a fan of mine, that you saw me do that joke and forgot that you saw me do it and think that you created it? You know, and Dane Cook is like, yeah, that's a possibility. That could happen. So that's a good point. It's hard to know if people stole things or not. But to me, if someone does it consistently, they probably stole it. You know what I'm saying? Like Carlos Mencia got caught multiple times. Amy Schumer's been caught multiple times, you know?
Yeah, in like such a short amount of time.
Dane Cook, I can't say too much about, because I only know about pretty much that one joke. You know what I'm saying? That he stole. So that might have actually been him mistakenly stealing it, you know? But also, like I said, again, there is a thing about getting popular too fast that kills you. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? That's what happened with Dane Cook. He got popular too fast. Now he's put under pressure to put things out, you know, and he can't, and he didn't have a chance to grow. His comedy stayed the same and got less funny over time because it was just the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really hard to be prolific, right? The people who are always the especially with comedy, the people who are you find are the best at it are the people who are always writing, always putting
Yeah.
on specials, like Louis C.K. every fucking year.
The thing is, you have to hone your craft. It's
Yeah.
not easy.
No.
Stephen King said, if you want to be a good writer, you have to write 2,000 words a day. It doesn't matter what you're writing about. It doesn't have to be a story. You just have to sit down on your keyboard and write 2,000 words a day, and that's it. And he says, then that's how you will hone your craft. It's like if you're not writing, you're not going to get better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like for a comedian as well, if they're not out there putting out jokes, if they're not writing jokes, if they're not trying out jokes consistently every day, they're not going to get better, you know? That's, I mean, I play, but
that goes with anything, right?
Yeah, that goes with anything. Yeah.
Practice.
That's what, oh man, all my life since I was a kid, I've been playing guitar since I was like 9. So all my life, there's always been people, they get all excited, they like music, and they're like, yeah, I want to be in a band. This is how you could tell a difference between the people who really care about music and the people who only care about getting famous, right? Because there's all these people who are like, I want to be in a band. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, I play guitar, get a bass, we'll make a band. All right, yeah. They bug their mom for weeks. They finally get their mom to spend like $300 on a fucking bass guitar. I tell them I'll teach them how to play. What happens after a week or two? They don't play anymore. They stop playing.
They're over it.
Feel bad for their parents because their parents just, mind you, I grew up in the fucking ghetto, poor as fuck. So this poor ass woman is working her ass off every day to buy her child a fucking bass guitar for $300 that they just stop playing after 2 weeks. But that's how you could tell the people who really care. And they're like, oh, but it's just too hard. I'm not getting it. You're not practicing every day. Things don't come easy. You know what I'm saying? You can't hone you can't hone a skill overnight. It takes years, you know?
There's no shortcuts. That's the problem that's another thing with products and everything around these days. They're designed for instant gratification. They're designed to shorten things, save you time, make things easier, make them quicker. But when it comes to like something that requires an actual skill, that takes time and development and devotion, and you actually need to spend time doing it. Otherwise, you're not going to get anywhere.
And you don't have to have a natural talent for things. For me, this is how talent works. Like, talent just means you learn things quicker. But just because you don't have a talent doesn't mean you can't be good at something. Like, you just have to practice more than a person who is talented at something. My talent when it comes to music is rhythmic. So I'm not great with melody and stuff like that. So when I started playing guitar, I was only really good at rhythm. I could never do like solos and like leads, you know, like I was never good at that. It took me years to learn that. Like, by the time I got to high school, like I started when I was 9. So by the time I got to high school, I was already like 14, 15. I've been playing guitar for 6 years. And there were people who were just picking up guitar for a few months and were killing me on leads and shit, you know? They're playing like heavy metal type leads going and all this shit. After like a few months, and I'm there going and I'm like shit, I can't do that. But I could play the hell out of a rhythm guitar. You know, you give me a rhythm, I could play the hell out of it. But doing leads and melodies and shit, I sucked at that for years. It took me like a decade to even start getting to the point where people were at in a few months, you know? And meanwhile, it's there's opposites too. I've known people who I school on rhythm and I'm like, no, you strum like this and you could play like that. And meanwhile, they're great at doing leads and melodies, but they can't do any rhythm, you know, and it takes them forever to pick up how to do certain rhythms and get the timing right. But that's just where my talent lies. My talent when it comes to music lies on timing and rhythm, you know? Now like, not even joking, like it's only been a few years ago that I've gotten really good at figuring out how to make my own leads and stuff like that. Before then, I would just like copy other leads and stuff because I was not good at it. I'm more, you know, I've always been a rhythm guitarist. That's what I do. But I mean, now it's just, I've been playing guitar for so long where it just naturally comes. I'm not even trying to do it, you know, and it just comes and I'm like, oh, all right.
Fair.
But that's what happens from practicing something for so long. You naturally start picking up things you never were good at, you know, which is why I say you don't have to be talented. There's something where people say like, people just give up so easy and they'll be like, no, I just don't have the talent for it. And I'm like, that doesn't mean shit. You know what I'm saying? Just keep practicing. Eventually you will pick it up. It'll just come natural to you.
It still takes time. People, I don't know.
Yeah, it takes
Just
time.
put some time into something.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed.
People want things too fast. It's like, but that again, that's where I tell you where that's where passion lies. And it's like, if you don't have the passion, then yeah, maybe you shouldn't even start. If you want to pick up an
But
instrument,
sometimes you need to push yourself to keep trying, you know?
yeah. But to be honest, if you're not passionate about, say you want to learn an instrument out of impulse, that's actually what it is. It's like people impulsively want to do it. And if you don't have the passion for it, you're not going to keep going. Like you said, sometimes you have to keep going, but you're not going to. If you're not passionate about it, you're not going to. I learned Japanese. I learned Japanese because I was passionate about it. You know what I'm saying? I was really interested in the language. I liked it. It's fun. It's a fun language. I like the way it's constructed. So I was very passionate about it. I studied it every day. I came home every day. I would write the words over and over again in a notebook, you know, days on end, you know. That's not something normal people would do. I've tried to teach people Japanese who told me, "Oh, I want to learn Japanese. Teach me." All right. Here's a bunch of stuff. Do this. Come back next week. I want you to write this multiple times. You have to know these characters by next week. Okay. Next week comes, they don't know the characters. And it's like, well, you're not passionate.
Yeah.
You know, you keep telling me you're going to do it, but you don't do it. You don't have the passion. You don't care. You know what I'm saying? You don't like it enough to do it. And that's where passion lies. You're not going to learn things if you're not passionate about it. It's just the way it is. Especially when it comes to skills, you know, something that's difficult to learn. And skills don't come easy. You have to be passionate about a skill if you want to learn it.
Exactly.
You're not going to become a musician overnight. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to create a video game overnight. You know, those are things you have to be passionate about and practice for a long time to be able to be.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, definitely.
But that's where I wear myself thin because I'm passionate about too many things.
Yeah, I find my interest is really malleable. Like I like a lot of things, and I just don't know how to organize my time to do all those things. So like, I'll be into this thing one day, like drawing is one of those things. Sometimes I can sit down and hunker down for a couple hours and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to draw. But then I'm like, I don't want to draw anymore. Now I want to read. So I'm going to read for a couple hours, or I'm going to do this or that. It's just like,
yeah, that's what happened with me too. And I had to drop some things like drawing. I dropped drawing. I used to be really big into drawing, but I dropped that because I just had too many things I was passionate about. And it was either like not grow in everything or drop some things and grow in other things, you know? Like I had to drop drawing so I can grow in writing and guitar because I was more passionate about those things. So I was like, well, I have to go where what I'm more passionate of so I can grow in those things.
But it's really writing, actually.
Yeah, see, now we did the opposite. Well, now I will write and you will draw what I write.
Yeah.
But it shows like where I hate writing because I got terrible handwriting.
Oh yeah, but now we have computers, man.
Exactly.
You don't need handwriting.
Exactly.
But yeah, I have a notebook full of story ideas. I just never actually sit down and write them. I've written a few of them out completely, but there's not too many. But I have at least like 70 short stories that I have like ideas for. I need to get to writing those soon. But that's where I say I write myself thin because I wear myself thin because I haven't really accomplished anything, right? I'm a musician. I haven't really done anything with that. A writer, I don't really do anything with that because it's just I do too many things at once.
But you love it anyway. So.
Yeah, but I love it anyway. And I have this like, see, I'm super punk rock because I have this idea. My idea is that I do things because I love it and not for acknowledgement of doing those things or money or fame or anything like that. I was always in bands, and my biggest problem in bands were that everybody was so focused on getting the band out there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I'm just here to play music. Like, that's all I care about. I don't care about fucking, you know, trying to get a record deal or, you know, trying to tour the country. I just want to play music, you know, that's all I care about. Even till today, I have a friend who constantly tells me, dude, we got to start a band. I know all these people. We could start shows. I know how we could start touring the world. I mean, we could get a record deal so fast. And I'm like, like, I don't care about any of those things. I'm like, I'm down to go to the studio with you and jam out if that's what you want to do. But I don't care about all that other stuff. That doesn't even matter to me. Yeah. I was never into music for that. It's just something I enjoy to do.
Now, if you love it, you love it. If you get the chance to get paid for it, that's pretty cool. But if not,
that's
it doesn't
cool.
matter. You love it anyway.
that's cool, but I'm not going to sell out my music. That's the big thing about punk rock was like not selling out. So it was like a lot of these bands chose to stay underground because you know, working for a corporate record label means changing your music basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got a bunch of look what happened in the 90s when punk became mainstream, and we got a whole bunch of soulless punk. Like Sum 41. Oh. Or Avril Lavigne. Oh, that's not even punk, but they it as punk. Lavigne. Oh, so bad. Fuck you, Canada. Oh, what was it? Sarah was asking me who are your favorite comedian? Who are your favorite comedians? Sorry, I was about to say bad grammar, but that was just me reading it wrong. Recently, there's not too many. If we go back to the old days, it's like George Carlin, Bill Hicks.
Oh,
I like Joe Rogan
Carlin,
a lot. I know we were talking about this before, where you were saying that you don't find Joe Rogan that funny.
No, I do. Like he has his moments in his specials, but like it's mostly him talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of the comedy I like, though. I like that.
Yeah, I like that. I do like him. I find him funny.
I really like that social observation comedy, like that George Carlin and Bill Hicks did, and that's kind of what Joe Rogan does, and I like that too. But Joe Rogan does it from like a stoner point of view, which I really like. It's kind of like. I agree. Like all his comedy is basically like people are fucking weird. You know what I'm saying? And I love that. I really like that about his comedy. And then Doug Stanhope's funny.
Yeah, I do. His last special was really funny.
Oh yeah, his last one was really good. That was the PC one, right? We was talking about people being PC and shit.
Yeah, and he's really fun live. Like I've seen him twice. I like him a lot, but I like Louis C.K. a lot better.
Yeah, Louis C.K. is good too.
You know, so but, I mean, like, there's
but they have their different styles. Louis C.K. is more about it's kind of observational too, but in a different way. Like he's more observational about like family, you know, and stuff like that. Like he'll talk about his kids and like the weird shit his kids do, or troubles he has with women, or something like that, you know. Or he puts himself down, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Rogan. I like him. I like his podcast. I just he's generally just a great guy.
Yeah, he's a likable guy in general. I like that he doesn't seem like an angry dude, which is something.
No, why would he be?
Nah, I don't know, but it's
he's like you. He has a lot of hobbies, and he's like a martial artist, and he like has all these things he does where he can direct his energy.
Yeah, it's true.
Like. When you're using, you know, we have finite energy in the day, and when you're actually using your energy to do conducive or good things, you don't give a shit to be mad. Why?
Yeah,
what's the point? It seems like It's like instead of being pissed, I could go do this instead.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, he does have a lot of hobbies. Now that you mention it, he's big into archery. I've heard
archery, MMA. He like rolls with fighters and shit. Like
he has chickens now, and he talks about that a lot. He's talking about how he takes care of chickens. He's got a
dog. He goes running with his dog. Like he's really active.
That's a good point. I didn't even think. I didn't put all that together until you just said it now, and I'm like, oh yeah, he does have a lot of hobbies. Like, I was watching a video the other day where he was given his 10th black belt, his 10th degree black belt.
Wow.
Yeah, he earned it, but it was from like 2012 or something. But I was watching it, and he was like, you know, it was like a ceremony for it at his dojo, and he was all crying and stuff. And I was like, oh man, and you know, from a guy to another guy, you want to be like, oh, what a wuss, but you totally understand that like something you're passionate about and you earned. Yeah, you know, a certain degree in that you know, you get emotional, you know, and it's a proud moment, you know, not crying because you're a bitch, you know, it's crying because you're proud, you know, like you accomplished something that you strived very hard for and that you're very passionate for. That's a great thing.
It feels good. It feels good to do things.
Yeah, let me tell you, man, when I have like a technique on guitar that I wanted to learn, that I tried to learn like say 5 years ago, and and I just couldn't, and I gave up on it, and then I'll try again. And I get it so easy. I'm super happy about it. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel really like passionate about it. And I'm like, wow, I fucking got this finally, you know? That's another thing I have to say about practicing something. There is a such thing as over practice. There is a such thing as practicing something too hard.
You're talking about obsession?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a point where this happens with musicians, and if you ask any musician, they'll tell you the same thing. Like almost every musician I know does this. And it's like you try so hard to learn something and you just can't. So you just stop and you don't ever try it again until like a couple years later. And then suddenly you get it on the first try. It's so weird. And it worked with me. I play drums too, but I'm not a drummer. You know, I don't own a drum set. But I used to play drums. Like I'd go to studios and play drums with people because, you know, I learned it from being in bands and having drummers in my band, you know, and learning from them. But there's techniques on drums that I tried and couldn't learn. And then I didn't play drums at all for like 6-7 years. And then the first time I sit on a drum set, I pull it off like nothing. And it's like, whoa. And I think it's kind of a thing that you have to sometimes let your subconscious run. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're thinking about it too much, you're fucking yourself up, and you have to just let it stew in the back of your mind and let your subconscious figure it out without you actively trying to figure it out. And it's amazing what the brain can do, because your subconscious will figure it out, and you'll be able to pull it off.
You know what that is? It's called like being in a flow state. Is when you just kind of like allow yourself to let go and not try and direct. I know we're not really directing our thinking, but you know what I mean by like applying conscious thought versus just being able to sit there and kind of like let your brain go and allow it to be creative.
It's kind of like a computer, right? Like if say you want your computer to do a certain task, but it has to process that task, you know, and you're looking at the progress bar and it's at like 30%, but you still keep trying to make it do that task. You know what I'm saying? But you can't do that task because the progress bar hasn't filled up. It hasn't finished its processes, you know? But if you leave it alone, walk away from your computer, you come back and you see that progress bar will be at 100%. And now you can do that task. And it's kind of like that's what your brain's doing. Like you're trying to do a task before your brain can process it, you know? You can't force things. Like you were saying about some things take time, you know? And that's one of those things. There's sometimes some certain things you just can't, no matter how much you practice it, you're not going to get it right away. And you just have to let it naturally stew in your brain until your brain figures it out.
But the thing is, like, don't you feel like we're in a sense, like the first how many years of our life going to school, we kind of are forced to do things. So it's easy to adapt that mentality.
Yeah,
You know,
it's true.
It's a lot of the things that we learn when we're younger, like the way that we go to school and everything, they're not actually tailored to the way that we should be allowed to work.
No,
We are
everybody's
essentially
different.
forcing ourselves to sit there for fucking 8 hours a day. Like none of the shit that we're doing is natural or like good. You know what I mean? So like when you're so used to doing it because you have to like survive in the world, it's just like it's hard to avoid that mentality when you're like just living your life outside of those constraints.
Yeah. And on top of that, we have a large variety in our species. It's not like everybody can't learn at the same level, you know, or at the same speed. So you can't just, and it's funny because we have like a punishment culture with that, like with school. So it's like if you don't get to this level by this time, we're going to leave you back. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, no, but everybody can't be at that level at the same time. It just doesn't work that way, you know?
Yeah.
We're not built that way. We're all built differently. Like, you know?
Exactly. But we do our best, right?
Yeah, but we do our best. We try. That's, I think the main point of all this is that if you're passionate about something, don't give up on it. Maybe take your time with it. I'm not saying that you have to constantly force it,
Definitely try.
Yeah, you have to try, but also give yourself the time to learn. You know, that's the point of me saying not give up, is to give yourself the time to learn. You might have to give up on it for a time, but don't give up on it entirely, because like I said, you have to give yourself the time to learn it. And for your brain to process everything, for your muscle memory to build. And muscle memory is a very important part of playing music, of all types of things. Almost everything that has to do with your body, muscle memory is a huge part of it.
You know what, Alfie? I feel inspired.
You feel inspired? I inspired you?
Yeah. Listening to some music last night with Red Guy, and now like just hearing you talk about like, yeah, we gotta practice. I just want to draw now. I think I'm gonna draw today.
Yeah, do it.
I'm not gonna go anywhere.
I can't believe it. Last night I was listening to Red Guy, and then I fell asleep in Red Guy's room.
Yeah.
Woke up. this morning, Red Guy room, there I was just like, oh, I fell asleep on Red Guy's room.
Everybody's gone and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, skills aren't easy, man. I have a lot of them, and it's not something that I got overnight. You know, something that I was doing. All the things I do are things I've done since I was a child. You know, and it took me a long time to get good at the things. Even video games, people are always surprised at how good I am at video games. It's like, yeah, I've been playing them since I was 4. Like, you know, language, I'm very good with language. Like, yeah, I've been interested in words and languages since I was like a little child. You know, I started reading novels at the age of 5 and 6. You know,
Yeah, I love reading.
Yeah, me too.
It's so nice.
I always blow people's mind when I tell them the first Stephen King novel I read was when I was 6, and they're like, "What?"
What?
I'm like, "Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was it." It and Night Shift. I read those both when I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
But I didn't fully understand them. But I enjoyed reading so much that I would just plow through it. Sometimes I'd have to stop and get a dictionary, you know what I'm saying, and like read what it, you know, understand what he's talking about.
I still need to do that if I'm reading Hitchens or Harris. So.
Oh yeah, there's certain things. I always tell people who want to get into H.P. Lovecraft, like, yeah, have a dictionary handy because he uses a lot of old words that are not in use anymore.
Jay, were you gonna say something?
I've just looked at the time and I'm like, I need to go do some shit. It's getting 6 o'clock.
Yeah, we're just rambling at this point. I think it's a good idea to end now.
You want to end it, Aimee?
Yeah. But thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for letting me barge in.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, no, you're always welcome.
What are you chatting, Jaymee? You're always welcome anywhere.
And for everybody in the chat, everybody watching, thank you for coming. I know it was short notice and it was kind of early for us East Coasters at least, I guess for
whatever we do,
East to West. But also tomorrow, Alf Benny Raw is on as always on Thursdays, and I'm gonna have Tice on the Dutch disaster. So yeah, I hope you guys will join us. It'll probably be in the mid-afternoon, like for East Coasters, like around 4 p.m., 3:30 4 p.m. Figure it out. Okay, guys. See ya. Thank you for coming.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.